Anyway, so about the epidural is that I was warned that, so it was from my sister-in-law, that
Mhm.
she had severe back problems afterwards, and she
That's what
had them for years.
that's what happened to me. Yep. That's
Okay,
exactly what happened.
so go ahead with your story because I try to tell people now if they can stand it just to go through naturally because
Yeah.
the epidural has caused so much damage with back pain.
Well, and mine wasn't epidural for the labor because I had a C-section. So the twins, they pretty much knew ahead of time they were going to need to be C-section because they have to both be head down to even attempt a vaginal birth. And even then
Mhm.
you'll wind up having one and then still having to have a C-section if the other one flips. So
Mhm.
we had a scheduled C-section, but so the epidural, I guess they can call it that or a spinal block, but whatever it was,
Right.
was essentially the same thing, right? I had developed some major back pain and some like everything got shifted around being on bed rest with the twins. I was I'm 5'4", 115 pounds. I didn't gain hardly any weight. I was sick all the time with them and I felt like they weren't even going to be big enough. They were only 4 pounds each when they were born, even though they were technically full term, but I'm just very small.
But
Like I
four
don't have a
pounds for twins isn't bad.
right. Right. And but I was so they were packed in there so tight and it just my back and being on bed rest and not being able to like my muscles atrophied and like I just developed all kinds of skeletal muscle issues and so after they but and then they then with the spinal block and everything it just I was never the same after that C-section. Like my back it felt like my body was in two separate halves. Like I couldn't there was no I was in pain or I couldn't get comfortable, I couldn't walk, like, it was just terrible, so I wound up having to go on pain medicine and get back injections, and, because like I said, I had been off doing, like, partying and drugs and stuff, I drank a little bit, but, like, I didn't really have any drug addictions that had manifested themselves really strong, and I went on the pain medicine, but that's what, like, really it started to come to the surface, but it was physical, really. I wasn't don't think I was doing it so much for mental reasons, although probably some of it did make me feel better because I went through just a period of feeling severely, inadequate after having these 2 infants. I just couldn't do anything for myself, and I felt like I didn't feel like I don't know, I just felt like I didn't have that, like, natural, like, mothering ability, but again, it is 2 at the same time, and it was such a shock to me, so I but being physically uncomfortable all the time, so I was taking these pills, which made me tired, so it's like I just never was able to fully function as what I feel like was like a fully functioning mother, but who is, right? But I
Mhm.
had to have a ton of help. My in-laws are amazing, like, they came from Michigan and lived with us and just, like I mean, and then my parents, but it took a village literally, but I just could never really I just never could really get past having to take pills for the back and then being tired and trying to get up in the morning. I would have to take like Adderall to get up, give me, some
So the pain pills were making you really tired and then
it was well, maybe a little bit tired. Actually, well, in a way they gave me energy. It kind of depended, right? So I slept a lot when I could. And I did go back to work right away in real estate. It was 6 weeks after the twins were born. I was back working full time and making, a couple $100,000, a 100 to $200,000 a year in real
but
estate.
so if but so I'm confused about the drugs because you're saying you're sleeping a lot, but they didn't make you tired. So
The pain pills so well, the sleeping a lot came a little bit later, so it just depended on what the situation was. So initially, it was the pain pills. The pain pills actually gave me a little bit energy to get up because it made me feel better, but then it was like once I started but then I felt like I needed a little bit more energy because it was just I was exhausted. So then I wound up back on Adderall, which kinda, like, gave me s got me going and kept me going, but I would stay up for days at a time just because I would get like, more into that manic mode.
but isn't Adderall for ADD
Yes, it is, and
supposed to
so
calm you down?
when taken properly, it worked well, but I have a tendency to overdo anything. I was not born with the moderation gene, so if I thought
Okay.
they say there's a pill to cure addiction, I wonder what 2 would do. So, that's how we think, right? Is if
Mhm.
one's good, 2 must be better, and that's pretty much that sums up my life, right?
Actually, the
So
last thing I heard from somebody with addiction, they taught one is too many and
and
a hundred or a
1,000 is
thousand.
never enough, yes.
Never
That's
enough.
it's a good
That's
12-step
part of
program.
AA now, isn't it?
Mhm, it is, yeah, it's in the big book.
In the big book.
1 is too many, 1,000 is never enough.
Yeah.
And that just sums it up. Like I said, so anyway, so it was a combination. I mean, I wish I could tell you what caused what, and it was all just a kind of a just big jumbled up mess of different drugs, that, and then if I was up for too many days and kind of getting manic or on the pills for too long, then I need to take Xanax to go to sleep. But I wound up having a gambling addiction from sometimes the pills that caused me to, like the stimulants it activated that gambling gene in me again. So so my poor husband, and I was working. So I was working still and still, like, it was just a combination of a
Who
mess
was
of
taking
like,
care of the twins?
so, between my parents, his parents, him, and then me, but I was mainly working. I mean, I was making a ton of money at the time, which is odd because I had this major pill addiction, but I still functioned for the most part. I mean, I would get tired, but that's part of the reason I was probably taking the Adderall was to get up. I had to go. I was selling real estate, and I think I made like $243,000 a year right before we got divorced, but which is kind of amazing to me to look back. But uh, I was just, I don't know what, I was overwhelmed, but at the same time felt like I needed to make money. But then I had this addiction I had to support with the pills, and then the gambling became a problem. All this stuff was kind of happening underneath the nose of my husband at the time. He knew I was having some problems and I had to take pills for back pain and stuff, but
Did he
he didn't
talk
know.
to you about it?
Yeah, we went through, and that's the thing, was we finally wound up getting divorced because so he would find out about different things that were happening, and then I started to dabble back into the cocaine a little bit. Like, not a ton, but enough where I would be at work, like I'd be at work and then there would be like somebody that I knew that lived nearby. So I was still dabbling a little bit in the cocaine. And he basically was just like, listen, you got to get it together or we're gonna have to get divorced. And this went on for like 2 years. So the twins were about 2. And he was finally like, look, he's like, you got to go to, get some help or go to detox. I'd never been to any kind of really treatment at that time for the most part. So I said, okay. So I went in to go to the doctor because I was going to like kind of get a checkup, figure out what to do, where to go. And so unbeknownst to me, and now I had just turned 40, right? Because I had the twins at 38. So I just turned 40. It was a couple of months after my 40th birthday. We had gone out for my birthday because we weren't really sleeping in the same room. We were struggling a little bit with our relationship because he was overburdened. He was tired. I was struggling with just everything. Well, we went out for my 40th birthday, and we celebrated. And so whatever, a couple months later when he said, you gotta go, I can't stay if you're going to continue being addicted like this. So I went into the doctor and unbeknownst to me, they gave me a pregnancy test because I guess they just do that. Well, they knew I was going to be trying to get off these pills. So
They
said,
probably
Jennifer,
just did a urine test, period.
yeah, well, yeah, they probably
That's
do.
part of
I mean,
it,
they knew
yeah.
that's why I was there, but yeah, they probably have to do it regardless, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, they come me back in the room and I'm sitting there and they said, so Jennifer, you're not going to be able to go into detox off these pills. Well, they said you can, but they said the high likelihood, they said we can't. I'm sorry. They said we can't send you to a detox facility because they will not take pregnant women. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, your pregnancy test was positive. And I said, you need to go next door and tell the 24-year-old that's probably sitting over there that she's pregnant. Cause I know you're not talking to me. I'm 40 and we spent $100,000 to have twins and went through all this. My first husband and I got divorced, over I said, you've got to be kidding me. They said, no, we've checked it twice. I said, we need to check it a third time. But anyway, I was pregnant. From more than likely, they were conceived on January 13th, of 20, I guess it would have been 20, whatever.
There's that number
2012, I guess,
13
whatever.
again.
Yeah, or 20, yeah. But anyway,
That's your number 13 again.
Yeah.
The lucky
Yeah,
13.
that's my 13, yeah. And they were born in 2013. Anyway, it's amazing the way that works. But anyway, so here we are. But so I was like, oh my God, like, so they said,
Did you already know that you were going to get a divorce or just things
he said, you need to get help or I'm going to be gone. And so I went into, a divorce wasn't officially on the table at the time. He said, you need to get help or, whatever. So
right.
Anyway, I called him and I was like, So yeah, I'm trying to get help, but just so you know, I'm pregnant, and at first I think he's probably thinking, good Lord, whose is it? Because we hadn't really been together that much. We were struggling a
Mhm,
little bit as
mhm.
but of course it was, as but anyway, that's what I thought. But yeah, no. Uh but they said, well, you can't go into they won't take you pregnant, and chances are you would miscarry when you go into withdrawals from the opiates. So they put me on they started me on methadone, which I that's like a kind of an outdated, archaic way to try to get people off of opiates. But Suboxone and Subutex are the new kind of today's version of that. And basically what it is, it's a way to prevent people from getting sick and going into withdrawals without them running around and taking pills or using needles. Um and potentially overdosing. It's more of a controlled way where they can go to these clinics. It's like a synthetic opiate, but it has a blocker in it. Suboxone has a blocker in it, which in theory would prevent somebody to go out and spend a bunch of money on drugs, because if it's blocking the effects of opiates, it's kind of a waste of money. Now, I'm sure people have found ways around this, but in theory, that's what it is
Okay,
it keeps you from getting sick, helps you step down, get away from the drugs, go through a program, but at the same time, it blocks it so that if you try to use, it's not going to affect you, it the way you want it to.
right, okay.
Well, and the blocker can affect pregnant women negatively. So what they did, there is a drug called Subutex, same thing, just without the blocker, but it doesn't, so the benefit is it doesn't have the blocker to harm the fetus, but the downside is people can still get high if they took that and then went out and did opiates, because the blocker's not in there. But and that wasn't really a concern for me at the time. I just didn't want to get sick and be in the hospital. Every time I tried to get off the pills, I was physically ill. So anyway, they put me on Subutex, and that was really more designed for pregnant women, and they monitored me, and we went through the pregnancy and kind of
Did
stepped
you have to
down.
be in the hospital with this one?
No, I didn't have to be on bed rest or anything like that. I just had to be, dosed just so I wouldn't go into withdrawals. And they had to monitor him. It's supposed to be safer, than the methadone and being on other opiates, but they did monitor him real closely when he was born. He was born, I mean, perfect.
Mm,
He was a week early. I did have a little bit of labor, wound up going through a C-section, but they kind of watched him for a while. They thought maybe he had a little bit of tremors and things, but at the end of the day, he was really perfect. And we went home 4 days later. And so, but I went into shortly thereafter, I went into treatment. Those first few weeks when he was home, I was trying to get off the opiates, but I was still having a hard time waking up and getting energy. So I was still I started taking the pills again to get up and go to
the
sleep.
Adderall?
Yeah, Adderall and Xanax, and then
Okay.
still having the gambling problem. So there was this 4-week period where I had a newborn, but
A
then,
newborn and you were gambling?
well, it was not, well, gambling. I had this problem where I would buy massive amounts of scratch off tickets at the gas station. So I
Ah,
wasn't going and gambling at a place, but still, I was still gambling, right? But I don't know, it was something about that Adderall that made me want to gamble. So
that's so weird.
anyway, he found out about this, really the depth of what was going on. And it was about, my son was about 4 to 6 weeks old. And I went into treatment and got off the opiates and came home. The day I came home from the hospital, uh, I went directly to my parents' house, and there was a knock at the door, and it was a process server. He was filing for divorce and taking the children. So
Darn.
that was December of 2015. And that was the day my life pretty much stopped, as I know it. And, because it wasn't just I mean, it was my kids, but it was also the love of my life. We didn't have any infidelity. I mean, there was trust issues from me and what I was doing, to hide, not because I didn't love him, I just didn't want to hurt him, and I didn't, I was embarrassed. But it
Right.
wasn't like anybody was cheating on anybody, and we never like fought. We might have disagreements, but overall, it was a good marriage. And I just remember thinking, like, this can't be the end of the story. Like, I worked so hard to have those kids, and then God gave me this magical baby. Like, this can't be how it ends. I just remember there was just that day. Well, it was, I don't even know how, like, like, literally, I feel like every ounce of my being was just shattered. Like, I felt like I was having an out of body experience, but I was like, it can't end
Just
this way.
imagine.
I was like, how can God give me this wonderful baby and these wonderful kids? And like, I just can't end this way. And I had just gotten off everything, I just essentially out of, I was feel like I was starting over, but by that time I guess he just had either fallen out of love with me, or he just couldn't take it anymore. And the financial thing. But I remember him saying, like, he had to do something drastic because he didn't want to have to tell our kids that, that their mom died of an overdose, and he didn't do anything to stop it.
Did
So,
did he think you were taken enough to overdose?
well, I don't know. See, he doesn't come from necessarily any kind of background with it. Like, I don't know that he knew, and he didn't know. I mean, I probably didn't even know. Most people probably don't think that they have the potential to overdose, and they wind up overdosing. Sometimes that can sneak up. So I don't know. I'm not sure what he thought, but it progressively gets worse. So he probably he really didn't know what I was taking, how and what it does. He just didn't have a history of that, whereas I probably knew a little bit more about it. But anyway, so to his credit, he just was trying to survive and do what he could and what he thought was right for the kids. But yeah, I mean, it was so I thought, well, okay, so in the state we're in, you have to be separated for a year before you can be divorced. And I stayed sober. I would, because I'd gotten off the opiates. I wasn't on those anymore. Had tapered off, and I stayed sober. I went to treatment. I went to meetings, and come that 1 year came, and we had we still had a good relationship, and I saw the kids every weekend and everything with my parents and whatnot. And again, never fought. And he was always pulling for me. He's always been in my corner, encouraging me. He's never said, as far as I know, a bad word about me. And he's an amazing father. Like, he's an amazing person. And his parents, like, they can't, and my parents. I mean, but I just kept thinking, gosh, if I stay sober, just, God can, like, things can work out. And so, I had taken off my wedding ring because after when I got that paperwork, that was my reaction, was to take that wedding ring off. Um that man wore that wedding ring every single day for that year we were separated. And a lot of people take it off, right? I just think sometimes they don't want to look at it and think he wore his wedding ring every single day, because in his mind we were still married, and he wore it every single day. And I thought sort of that gave me hope a little bit, but then we got the call, to go to finalize everything at the attorney's office. And I remember I kept thinking, like, maybe he won't sign it. Like, maybe it'll be like some movie. There'll be this magical movie moment, right? And when he showed up, he didn't have the ring on. And so I just, I really pretty much shut down from that point forward. I just remember watching him sign the papers, and just, and I just cried to myself. And again, we weren't fighting or anything. There was no crosswords. And I just left that day, and I thought, you know what, I stayed sober, and it didn't, for what? I mean, in my mind, it was like, it didn't even help. So I was like, I felt like drinking. So I started drinking a little bit, and a couple drinks in, I was like, oh man, I need some cocaine. That would make me feel so much better. But I hadn't done cocaine in so long. I didn't know who to call. I wound up on the wrong side of town and gave somebody $100 bill, asked for cocaine, and they brought me back a bag of crack. And I didn't know what it
And they
was.
didn't tell you that it was crack, or
They didn't. They said we didn't know. We thought you want. Whatever, they were trying to pull the wool over my eyes. I'm sure they just wanted my money and figured that's probably all that was available, because the neighborhood I was in, that tended to be what was being consumed. I don't know. I don't really know, but they said, oh, you don't know. I said, I don't even know what this is. I can't. I was like, you can't snort it. They said, oh, well, we'll show you. Well, yeah. So that started a couple year period of having severe addiction with that, and that's when the violent crime really started to happen to me.
so what do you mean as in violent crime?
So within first 4 months of me trying that for the first time, my car was stolen twice. I was shot while I was in the car. I was a passenger of a car where a drug dealer had gone bad. I got shot in the shoulder. It was a graze. It wasn't a full penetration, but I was carjacked twice. I had broken bones. Just people were always trying to, because I had money.
Carjacked.
They dragged me out of the car, took my car, and stole my car.
So what were you doing? Just sitting in a car?
I was in a bad neighborhood waiting for drugs.
So did they hold a gun up to take your car? Or?
One of the two times, yes. Yeah. One of the times I just got pulled out, but I've been at gunpoint. I've been held at gunpoint multiple times.
When you sat there, you didn't have your car doors locked?
Well, let's see. For the first one, no. One of them I had just pulled up to a stop sign, So I don't even know. I have no idea. I don't remember. I just remember the first one I got pulled out of the car. The second one I had stopped the car. And so sometimes when you stop the car and put it in park, the doors, like the thing will open. So I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. Were
But
you
anyway, got
already
car.
high?
No, I was trying to get high
So you weren't high
at
at
the
the
time.
time.
No. Well, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, probably from it's hard to say at any given moment, but I mean, it was, yeah, the neck was on for days and hours on end, but
Well, apparently you're in a really bad area.
oh yeah, no, I picked the worst side of town for Charlotte to pick up that. Well, first of all, that type of drug tends to be in a little bit more of a rougher, violent area. Not always, but that just tended to be where it was more prevalent. And and then once you're in that mindset, and people are like, well, I don't understand why don't you go to like a better part of town and do it? I mean, like you're in active addiction. You're not thinking clearly, like, well, I really should go into a better neighborhood and look for crack. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't happen.
Right.
So anyway, so that happened multiple times. My car was stolen, I got shot, and then I eventually uh 2018, September 1st, 2018. I had actually been sober for 4 months. This is what's ironic. I had been sober for 4 months and but I happened to be I was back in real estate again. I had just gotten a newer car, different car since the other one got shot up with bullets. I was in the same neighborhood. I was in the neighborhood, not because of drugs. I was actually sober, but I had to go there to show an investment property.
Mhm.
And a mid-level drug dealer that knew me, recognized me. My car had hit a pothole and I got out and I couldn't, it was like, had a huge flat tire and I got out to look at it. Well, he saw me and he and his girlfriend, there was a drug deal gone bad, basically. And they knew that I knew where this other person lived. I was one of the only
Okay.
people that knew this person lived. They wanted me to take them to this guy's house because they were going to kill him.
Oh gosh.
Yes. But I said, I don't remember. I don't know the address. I don't remember. They put me in car, put me in the car at gunpoint. He broke my jaw, punched me in the face, broke my jaw, put me in the back seat of the car. They held me at gunpoint for several hours, drove me around, mentally tortured me, wanted me to tell them where the guy lived. I told them I didn't. They grabbed my phone, looked through my phone, went back and realized there was a conversation that I did know where the guy lived, didn't give the address, but it basically said was like, "Hey, I'll be over. I'm coming by the house, etc." They went back a whole year in my phone and looked at these
No.
messages. He stopped the car, the guy, the male abductor stopped the car, took the gun from her. She'd been holding the gun on me the whole time. He took the gun from her, turned around, pointed it at my forehead. And I'm in the back seat. My face is I already have like a broken jaw.
So they hit you?
He hit me when he first put me in the car.
Okay.
So I was all messed up. He turned around, he put the gun at my forehead and said, "I'm going to ask you one more time where this guy lives. You're going to take me where he lives." He goes, "I'm going to put a bullet in his brain or I'm going to put a bullet in your brain. It's going to be your choice." And so this particular person had actually helped me and tried to get me off drugs. This particular person they wanted to kill, even though he was involved with drugs, he actually was like a unusually good person and was trying to get me off of the drugs and had let me come stay at his house and was trying to help me get sober because he knew, like, he actually called my parents in the middle of the night one time when I was missing. He saw me out having some trouble in the streets and he called my parents. He didn't know me. He just knew my last name. He looked up my parents' phone number, 411, said, "Mr. and Mrs. Orem, you don't know me." He gave my parents his real name, which is unusual when you're out there in the street. Nobody gives their real name. Gave my parents his real name, said, "You don't know me. This is my name. Your daughter's in trouble. I was trying to help her. I was trying to find her. You need to call the police and report her missing." This is the guy that the
They
bad guy
were
wants to
looking.
kill,
They won't.
right? He wasn't I mean, he had his issues. He had been in prison, this guy that was helping me, right? But he had done so much for me. He wasn't perfect, but
Right.
they wanted to know where he lived. And there was a small child that lived at this house. And I
What did they
said,
have
so for
against
the,
him?
hmm? There was a it was a transaction gone bad. Like I said, the person that I'm referencing wasn't perfect by any means. He still had some dealings, but
Mhm.
not to overall a good person, right? I mean, there's still good people that do bad things, right?
Sure.
Sometimes.
Of course
So
there is.
he was one of those. Overall, like 99% really good.
Mhm.
But, you know, there was a transaction that happened that they wanted to kill him because there was some money lost.
Do you
But
know, were they high at the time?
they were looking for, well, they were looking for drugs. They were looking for
Okay.
their own drugs. But he was a dealer. This guy was a dealer. He was a mid-level dealer. It wasn't really a big dealer, but there was a whole host of different things they wanted. They wanted all kinds of stuff. But he was a
But I'm
violent.
confused. Did they hijack you, carjack, whatever we want to call it, to um for you to go help them get, take
No, they
this guy
wanted to
to get
know.
drugs, or just
They
to kill him?
they held me at gunpoint because they wanted to know where this guy lived, and they knew that they knew I probably knew where he lived. They wanted me to take them there, but I told them I did not know.
Okay, so I get that, but I'm saying,
Mm.
but they didn't want to get drugs.
No, they wanted to kill him.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they wanted drugs too. Yeah, but that's a whole nother thing. But the whole reason that they held me at gunpoint is because he did them, they felt that he did them dirty. There was a transaction that was questionable, and there was some money that would have been owed, but he basically told me, you're gonna take me there because I'm going to kill him, is what he told me in no uncertain terms. This
Mhm.
guy was a very bad person. He is currently actually, well,
I was
so
going to
I'll
ask you, did
oh
he
no,
get
he's in
caught
prison
for
for
that?
homicide. Yeah, after what he did to me. So they kidnapped me. I escaped out of the car. He chased me down, pistol whipped me. My eye was hanging out of my head. I was laying in the street, basically partially unconscious. He strangled me till I urinated myself. Some bystanders pulled him off. They ran away. I woke up in emergency facial reconstruction surgery.
So you don't even know how you got to the hospital or who,
Well, I know the ambulance did come. I did wake up at one point in the ambulance.
but somebody must have called them.
Oh yeah, somebody did. Which was unusual because the neighborhood we were in, typically people kind of scatter because a lot of times they have warrants or
Stay
they're
out of the
afraid.
way.
But there was a couple good people, a couple of bystanders that pulled the offender off of me, and then actually was an older veteran man called he was the only one that stayed, but well, he's not the only one that stayed, but he called the ambulance. The ambulance came, police came. They did wind up arresting this person a couple days later. He was in jail for 30 days. So I went through facial reconstruction surgery and went through all this stuff. They released him. I didn't know it. The detectives told me he was probably going to stay in jail wasn't going to be coming out because he had so many felonies. They had chased him. He crashed his car into a house. The police had chased him. He crashed his car into somebody's living room, a stolen car. Like, he had so many felonies. They're like, you'll be okay. Well, they released him 30 days and put him on an ankle monitor after my kidnapping. They charged him with kidnapping, assault with a firearm, deadly, all kinds of stuff.
I take it he didn't make it to that guy's house.
No, because I escaped out of the car. I escaped out of the car.
You
I
mean
refused. I was never going to take him.
he
Yeah, I
never
was never going
found
to take him.
but he never found it through anybody else. So
No,
that guy
nobody
remained
knew
safe.
nobody knew the guy. I was one of the few. Oh, because the guy kind of stayed out of the way because he was really trying to better his life. He wasn't one trying to be in the mix. So like, nobody knew where this guy lived. Nobody. I was the only one. And I was not about to tell them, even though people were like, why would you protect another drug dealer, even though he wasn't really a drug dealer? I said, because of what he did for me, and because there was a small child at that house, I said, you know what, God gonna figure it out and help me get out of this car. I didn't know how, but I was not going to be the one to drive him there
Mhm.
and potentially have an innocent bystander get killed, because it was a regular, nice, decent neighborhood. And I thought, I'm like, God got my back. He's gotten me out of so many other things. I thought, I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I did escape out of the car. But he did chase me down. But yeah, he was arrested a couple days later. Put it on an ankle monitor. And while he was on the ankle monitor, he murdered somebody. Actually, a friend of mine, an acquaintance of mine. Acquaintance, it was a drug acquaintance. It wasn't like my best friend. It was a drug
Right.
acquaintance of mine, somebody that I used to spend quite a bit of time with. He murdered while he was on the ankle monitor.
Wow.
So he's in prison. He
So
got 4
during
years.
this time, were you, first of all, were you living at your parents' or no?
No, I was basically living from place to place on the street or wherever. Not on the street literally, but I was in my car probably. Yeah.
And were you still able to visit your children?
No, I went through long periods of no contact with my family at all. My family reported me missing a couple of times.
Okay, but like your choice, right?
Well, yeah, inactive addiction. No, well, I mean, yeah, I wanted to, but I wasn't in
But
I
what I'm
wouldn't be able
saying,
to present myself. I was not in good
what I'm
shape.
saying is it wasn't your ex-husband saying, no, you can't come see the kids.
Correct. Yes. I mean, it was me just going off the rails. You know what I mean?
So
And just
did you
being,
like call in and tell him, I'm not going to see the kids?
sometimes I would message once in a while, but it was usually just some sort of excuse of where I was and why I wasn't. And it wasn't because I didn't want to see them, but it was because I was physically like, I couldn't be present myself the way I was. I was in serious addiction.
Okay.
So, yeah. So he put, when I went through, g- periods of where I would get sober for a while or whatever, but it was never a very long time. So he's never really seen, he and my children never really seen this version of me
Mhm.
for any length of time, because other than we were married, yeah, I wasn't, doing like a whole bunch of drugs, but like, we were trying to get pregnant with through all that. But he's never really seen this version of me where I mean, I haven't had a drop of alcohol. Actually, today's 213 days.
Today is
Today's
congratulations.
213 days, 13
Here's your
is my lucky
13
number.
number.
It is, I know. So 213 days. That's the longest period. I've gone periods where I didn't have do a lot. I probably 9 months maybe was the longest, but I still kind of snuck alcohol in those 9 months. This is the first time that I've been 100% like even authentically, even to myself, like not a drop of anything since for 213 days.
Okay, so during that 213 days, did you go through a recovering treatment center?
Yes. So
Or-
I wound up so after that, all of that, and my sobriety date is July 13th,
Oh
2021.
my gosh.
Yeah, no, it's whenever there's something important happening, God sends a 13. So some way, shape, or form. But anyway, I knew Charlotte was getting dangerous for me. It was getting increasingly more dangerous for me just to be around, and just the people I was associating with. I'm talking, it was pretty serious. So I said, I just always loved Charleston. And I just said, I knew. So there's what's called an Oxford House, which I think is the sobriety's best kept secret for people that are maybe they're, maybe they go to detox or they go to rehab, or they don't want to go to like long-term treatment
Mhm.
where they're living somewhere for a year or two, and it's like kind of like a facility, or like it's called an Oxford House. And they don't advertise it as a 501c3 organization. They're not affiliated specifically. They're based, they mirror, there's a lot of things that mirror the 12-step program of AA and NA, but it's a non-for-profit. And they're called an Oxford House, and it's basically just a regular home. It's like sober living. So you'll hear people talk about sober living homes.
Mhm.
Um, and they basically are where you're living in a regular house in a regular neighborhood. You might even live next to an Oxford House and not even know it. You might see that there's maybe, multiple cars out there because you have multiple residents. But so where I live right
Actually,
now,
where I'm at, the ones that we do have, and I only know it because of the um, volunteer stuff that I do,
yeah,
but they're not allowed to give out the address because a lot of the women come from
yeah.
amusement. So
Yes,
yeah,
or environments where they're putting themselves in witness protection like me.
right, right.
But yeah, but I knew I could go to an Oxford House. They're all over the world. Now they're not, sometimes there's some cities that might not have any, or they may be few and far between, but just for anybody if somebody wants to learn how to live sober, it needs to, if you don't have money right away, they'll work with you on deposits, and we do work and pay weekly rent. And I choose to be there because I love it. It's a safe environment for me. I work a 12-step program, but oxfordvacancies.com, if anybody needs information, it'll tell you the vacancies. There are houses that will offer, you can come. It's not a halfway house, and it's not like a facility. It's a regular house. It's a democratically run sober living home. Men and women are separate. There are homes that are called women and children, or mommy and me houses, where if somebody has a child or is pregnant, they are child friendly. You are required to work. You are required to attend 12-step meetings. There are curfews in place. You do have to do things around the home, but it's saved my life, changed my life completely. I absolutely love it. Like, we're moving into a new house. Like, I don't, like, people say, oh, how long do you have to be there? I was like, I don't have to be here. I love it. It's like being in a small
So can
sorority
you
where
like live there forever?
I can, yeah, as long as I follow the rules, and it's inexpensive. They range anywhere between $100 to $140 a week. And that's, we pay for our own food, but that's your rent and your utilities. But it's like,
So
it's
what, do you
such
have like an apartment or a room?
it's a house. It's single family house. We're actually moving into a 6-bedroom house with a big pool in the backyard at the end
Wow.
of this month. Yes. And it's in a regular neighborhood. Nobody would ever know. And it's really everybody, and we everybody follows the rules. We do weekly meetings. And so if somebody's, you can drug test somebody at any time. Um, and if we don't have to comply with regular landlord tenant laws, like if somebody is not complying, like we're allowed, they have to leave the home. They have to leave the
But
house.
is there somebody there 24 hours a day that is there
Nope.
for you?
No, we're all independent. We're single people that choose to live in a sober living environment, and we have a house president, like, and they rotate. There's nobody in charge.
So then
It's
how would they
democratic.
know if you drank or not?
They would give you a drug test, or the house would get together and they would give you either a breathalyzer or breathalyzer. But our drug tests that we use actually detect alcohol.
But what
So
I'm
if some,
saying is like, so do they do that randomly?
yeah, or if your behavior changes, yeah, yeah,
So
because it's
somebody
not
would have to report that if there's not somebody from the organization that
Mhm.
is in that house,
Yep.
somebody would have to report it.
Yeah, we would notice. We notice each other's behavior because we see each other
Okay.
every day. So it's and regardless, it's always principles over personalities, right? So even my best friend who unfortunately just lost her battle with addiction about 2 months ago. I met her at an Oxford house. We were in treatment together, and she had an alcohol problem. It stemmed it, and then it wound up going into other things. They just found her dead. I was told it was an overdose. I found out, after the fact, 'cause her and I had been estranged, but, um, when her and I first lived together, when I found out she had relapsed, I loved her so much, but I could tell her behavior changed immediately. She had relapsed and started drinking in her room, and we immediately called the house together, and, I took her to detox, but she had to leave the house for a while, and then she was able to come back. But yeah, we do it
Are the
because
meetings in that house?
no, we have house meetings where we pay our bills. We have a treasurer, we have a president, a secretary. It's a regular full business meeting. And then we go to 12-step meetings 3 to 5 times a week. We're required to go 3. We have to go to 3,
Or
but
do you have to show proof for that, or how's that work?
no, when you're new, when your first 30 days, they ask you to have a meeting sheet signed. Although with COVID, or well, I'm sorry, with everything, I don't know how to say that word, but
Right.
with everything going on, you are allowed to do 24-hour Zoom meetings where you can, and you just write down, you take a screenshot of you being on there, but just the first 30 days, once, because it's not supposed to be some sort of it, you, the whole point is to teach you how to live independent, make good decisions.
Right.
So the first 30 days, we just try to help people because they may be coming right off the street. They might be coming right out of a treatment program where they're learning to live again. So we try to give them a little bit more structure. Once you're past that 30 days and you're complying with everything, yeah, we don't check on each other with meetings. We really, when somebody's working a program or not, working with the sponsor, you can tell.
Well, like you can leave and go spend the night at somebody's house and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
totally okay.
Yep. So it's up to 3 nights a week. You can spend the night out, just not 3 consecutive. And the reason for that is because 3 consecutive, you can beat a drug test. So if
Okay.
you go out and screw up, if you're gone, so you have to not more than 2 in a row. But yeah, I go back and visit my kids and stay overnight and stuff.
So when you go visit your kids, how often do
Mhm.
you get to do that?
So I normally it would be once a weekend, but just because of the fact of where I'm at, it's been more like every 2 weeks. But I talk to them a lot more. I see them a lot more being a little further away than I ever did being there because I had some bad associations
Mhm.
there. So this is just safer. But we do like FaceTime and stuff all the time. But I'll be going to see them tomorrow.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Now,
So
do you have an iPhone where you can FaceTime them or
yeah, I don't have an
maybe
iPhone, but
I?
it's basically it's a similar app. Yeah, we FaceTime.
That's cool.
So
And then has your ex-husband, is he in a relationship? Has he gotten remarried?
No, well, he has had a couple relationships. That was for hard the first time the kids accidentally let it slip because he again, but this man wore his wedding ring up till the very day. he's just a good guy. But so I just kept thinking, oh God, I couldn't imagine him ever being with anybody else. The first time I found that out, it was really devastating to me. I think I relapsed shortly thereafter, but he's not, I don't know if he is not, we don't always really talk about it. Typically I can kind of tell sometimes, the kids just, they don't like when they know they're not supposed to talk about something, that's when they like to talk about stuff. So I might hear them say a name or whatever. As far as I know right now, not, I did meet a girl that he was with for the first time, which is the first time I've ever saw this man with another woman. And this was a couple months ago. I don't know that they're together anymore. It sounds like maybe they're not, but I try not to. I actually I felt surprisingly good after I was so traumatized about the thought of having to like I didn't think I'd ever be able to deal with it just because
Mhm,
of
mhm.
just everything. Plus father of my children. Um, but I met her and I felt like surprisingly good, but I think that's a testament to how far I've come because I feel so good about who I am today and all the things I'm doing. Like it was just this relief. I was like, okay, that wasn't that bad, and I was polite and cordial, and they were probably surprised that I was because, I mean, at one point I
Mhm.
was just um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure, but I just know that I'm okay no matter what. I am so lucky to have the relationship, considering what I put everybody through, including him, and not being there for my kids. Like I am so lucky. Honestly, I have very little stress today. I really do. I'm so happy. Um, people are like, "Oh God, you're living away from them and you're in this like sober living house." I love it. My life is so amazingly awesome. The girls I live with are awesome. My sobriety is awesome. My sponsor's awesome. I have great friends. I feel good about myself. I never have to look in the rearview mirror wondering if I'm getting pulled over. I don't have to wake up in the morning feeling hungover. Like, and then the keto diet is a whole nother facet to it, but I feel so good. I mean, yeah, I wish I could see the kids a little bit more, but that's going to come with time. But I'm so proud. I just know, I remember I told him, my ex-husband, I said, I feel like I don't ever want them to resent me, but I said, if anything, they might say, oh, I remember, there's a lot of times mom wasn't around, but I said, you know, if anything, I just want them to know, like, mommy was tough as nails. Like she went through some stuff, but she's tough and she survived it. And one day they'll understand what addiction is. I had asked them to forgive me about a couple months ago when I saw them. I said, I know I haven't been around. I said, mom wasn't feeling good and she was struggling with missing you guys. And I said, I said, I was doing some things that weren't very good for me. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I'm not going anywhere anymore. I said, will you forgive me? And they said, "Yes, mommy, of course we'll forgive you." And so, I just want to be, if, I can't go back and change that, but I just want to be, I want them to be able to look back and say, my mom struggled and yeah, we missed her when we were a little bit younger,
Do
but
you
she
do you
taught us about,
know if your ex-husband, their father, has talked to them about drugs?
I don't know if he's talked to them about drugs. I know they were going to start getting some counseling about just the fact that I wasn't around and the divorce and everything. I don't know about that specifically. I don't think so. I think they were still pretty young. They're getting older now. Like I said, they're 9 and then the little guy's 6, but I think he probably hasn't specifically mentioned that yet. I know I don't know. We'll need to talk about that, but like I said, we're just sort of getting back into like a regular routine again. So, um
Well, you know what? I'm hoping that when you hit your year,
mhm,
that because this is coming from the life coach from me, okay? The twins are definitely old enough, and the youngest is he 6?
yeah.
Yeah. They're actually in schools now
Yeah.
teaching that. So
Right.
to I feel like if the two of you could sit down together
Yeah.
and explain to them, that it would like probably clear off a lot of stuff that you guys might not even know is going through their heads.
Yeah.
Um, but also that they would be proud of you
Yeah.
and of their dad, because their dad made a decision that he probably wasn't easy for him.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't. I know that from me having to do that. It's
Mhm.
the worst part about it is using tough love. So I'm not sure that he fell out of love with you and that's why he made that choice. I think he made that choice for your children.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I'm sure it hurt him,
Yeah.
even though, and then it probably hurt him to sign those papers too. At that year that went, or 9 months that went by or whatever, that he was wearing his ring, he was probably really struggling
Yeah.
with, do I or don't I, what's best for these kids.
Yeah.
And so it's wonderful that you have nothing bad to say about him. And so as far as he hasn't said anything bad about you.
Yeah. It's not really in his DNA. I mean, he's, like I said, he's sort of, he's, I don't know if he's, I think he probably should be studied by science. I don't know if he's real sometimes, but I'm sure he's got some flaws, but I'm just not, I wouldn't be able to find them.
But I'm just saying, coming from seeing both mom and dad that are adult enough and have a relationship where they can both sit down and talk to you is probably the best thing for them.
Yeah. I think we're probably getting closer to that point. Like I said, it's good. I'm actually glad we talked about this because it's probably something I need to think about.
Yeah. And so do you two ever talk without the kids?
Yeah, we do. I mean, on the it's a lot of it's through text, but we have talked on the phone and when we've actually gone to lunch before, not recently since I've been here, it's really been about trying to get 'cause, going this man, he's like super dad. He's like started like a dad's club in his neighborhood. He's like coaches like three different.
Oh,
He's just really he took a job that was probably not paying as much because the other one was taking away time from the kids. Like he's really I'm so thankful for him. But we do talk, we probably need to talk a little bit more independently, but God, he's got so much on him. It's just, and I'm struggling with a little bit of guilt about that, about the fact, and I'm trying to contribute. I have a child support payment that's pretty high that I'm, doing as best I can we work, he's so good about working with me on it, but he needs the support and I just haven't been. I've been in and out and in my own wallowing in my own self-pity for a couple of years. So I'm finally like reaching that point where I can help contribute.
that's good. That's really good.
So
So what if, we got listeners out there that have been through a lot of the stuff that you have, but also those that haven't been or could be right in the middle of doing drugs and
yeah.
alcohol and everything. What's the one thing that you would say to everybody?
One is just rise up and reach for it. If you don't realize what you're about to, I can tell you, for those that are like young or maybe don't see the consequences, I'm tell you, it's like when I was in my mid to late 20s, gosh, it was kind of fun. It just made me feel good for a while. And people say, some people say, oh, well, I've struggled my whole life. I've never had anything. I was like, just imagine. I said, I don't know what's more painful, the pain of like struggling and never having something in life, or the pain of I had it all, including a white picket fence and money and a husband and like I had it all and lost it. So is that pain the pain of that regret of losing it? I don't know there's no right answer, but you just gotta it's it doesn't get better. The drug addictions and the things out there, they always say when you go to a 12-step meeting, you say, come try it, try a sober life with us. And if it doesn't work out for you, I promise your misery will be refunded because it doesn't get any better. It's pretty much goes downhill. Some people faster than others, but I'm telling you, your life is like surprise. And I'm not saying that I don't judge people that drink on because people that have the moderation gene can do things like that, like drink, drugs obviously is really probably just best to stay away from. But some people can drink in moderation. I just can't. If you find that your life is better when you stop drinking, if your life gets better when you stop drinking or using drugs, then chances are you might have a problem. If you're, you know what I mean? If your life gets better. Some people, again, they may be able to drink and they drink on a moderation level and life stays the same. But if your life gets markedly better when you stop using drugs and alcohol, then chances are that you probably have something that, could really develop into something horrible. And, people say, oh, when I lost this, when I was in addiction, I lost this, I lost this, I lost this. And I used to say that to my sponsor. I was like, I lost all these things in addiction. She said, Jennifer, don't deceive yourself. She said, you gave them away. You didn't lose them. You gave your children away. You gave your marriage away. And that was hard to hear. But I'll tell you what, Or I remember one time I said, I don't steal. Like, I'm not like some people when they get into addiction, they steal from others, right? And I was
Mhm.
like, I don't steal. I'm not a thief. I don't steal. And she said, and again, she said, Jennifer, don't deceive yourself. You stole those people's trust. You stole their time. You
Mhm.
stole their, their, their security, their feeling, you stole all kinds of things, just not maybe money or maybe
Right.
not things.
Right.
You stole something that they can't get back. And man, I tell you,
Those are really powerful words.
yeah. And so that made me and so she put me she was good. She's not my sponsor anymore because I moved, but, I'm telling you and so a 12-step program, people think, "Oh god, that sounds so terrible." I'm telling you, 12-step program, and it could be for anything. So because there's Overeaters
Oh,
Anonymous, there's
absolutely.
Gamblers Anonymous, there's Sex Anonymous, whatever it's called.
Sex
A
addiction.
12 a 12-step program just shows you how to live. It's not even about the alcohol or the drug specifically. It's about character defects, about things that we do, a spiritual disease, being self-centered. It's just if you can get if anybody if I could a highly recommended read is the original book, the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the first 164 pages. I actually have because I have a company, it's called Inspiring Sobriety, it's recovery apparel. And I have a little design I made that says 164 pages saved my life. The first 164 pages of the AA book talks about 12 steps being, and it's just showing you how to live again.
Mhm.
And that's what it's really done. It just shows you how to live again.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, and I hope you don't take this wrong, but when you went into, so you were still married and your husband said, you've got to get help or we're going to have to get divorced. You, one of the reasons why that didn't work is because you did that because he asked you to do it and
Right.
said you weren't ready.
Yeah.
And I think
You
it's
got to be done.
important for people to know that they have to be ready. And
Right.
sometimes that's when you hit the worst ever part in your life. It would be really nice if you just came to that point before it was so horrible that you just wanted to quit. But the drugs have that way of controlling your mind, especially, well, depending on the drug, but the
Yeah.
drugs that make you feel better, make you feel happy, make you feel like you can do anything in the world. I am talking cocaine, meth,
Mhm.
those type of drugs. And this is, hearing from not just family members that I have that have told me, like, I haven't seen, like my brother, I've never seen him high. When he
Mhm.
goes to do his drugs, he disappears for days at a time and he will never, ever let anybody see him.
Yeah.
Um, we see him afterwards, and that's when he goes home to sleep for days.
Yeah.
And then he may be sober for a year, and then the tiniest thing, and this is, he has never ever gone through a program.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Mhm.
He tried one time for a day and he said, this isn't for me. And unfortunately, couldn't talk him into trying another one. And so he never stays sober.
Yeah.
The tiniest thing, well, to me, it seems tiny. Maybe to him, it doesn't. But um, just him taking something that somebody says wrong on a Facebook page, he
Mhm.
takes it personally. He'll go out and do drugs to make himself feel better. So it's the feel
Yeah.
better drugs. And as you know, they might do that for a minute or
Right.
for an hour or for a day, but it doesn't last forever. You got to
Right.
keep doing it. So that's the message that I want to get
Mhm.
out to alcohol or drug abuse or addicts, is that you really have to make that decision on your own and want it for it to work.
My mom is a prayer warrior and my mom has never given up. My mom's a big reader. She reads a lot of books. And so when I was missing and in my active addiction, she found Daryl Strawberry and Tracy Strawberry. Daryl Strawberry, the baseball player. He severe drug addiction. So he's,
Mhm.
in recovery, been in recovery for a long time, him and his
Mhm.
wife. My mom loved their books and was reading their books. So she would read them. And there was one, because you were talking about when you're done, when you're done, right? Or I remember after my had to have my face reconstructed and all that, I remember my mom saying, what is it going to take?
Mhm.
What is it going to take? And there's well, anyway, I went into active addiction again, and I apparently, so she has these books at home. There's one called Don't Give Up on Me,
Mhm.
and she heard he was going to speak at the Billy Graham Library, which is one of the most amazing places in the world, but in Charlotte,
Uh-huh.
right? So
Uh-huh.
she said, and I found this out later. I wound up seeing the pictures. My brother had this taking pictures of this. She went there with this book, and I was missing. They didn't know where I was, and so there's pictures. I'll have to send them to you, but there's pictures
Yeah.
of he looked. My mom told him, she said, like, my daughter, but I think she basically said, like, my daughter's missing. I'm not sure, I don't know, whatever. And so my mom said that he looked at her and he said, don't you ever give up on your daughter, because nobody gave up on me. Don't ever give up on her. He says, it takes what it takes. Sometimes it takes what it takes. And that, they say if you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot. When you reach rock bottom, quit digging. But and then I saw something, it's another thing I'm going to put on a shirt, but it said, rock bottom became the solid foundation upon which I rebuilt my life.
I love that.
So yeah, so I'm going to put it on a shirt. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to on my website.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was amazing, because it takes what it takes. Some people are what they call a one chip wonder, meaning they went to their first meeting, they picked up a chip, they've been sober ever since.
Mhm.
I always thought they were an urban legend. I know somebody who is one, but it's like a myth. Relapse is a part of recovery. And that the one thing which I did just make a shirt, not to talk about shirts, but it said, do not be defined by your relapses, be defined by your commitment to recovery.
Nice.
So that's what defines you. It's relapse is a part of recovery most of the time. It doesn't have to be, but it usually is. And so you just weren't done yet. God wasn't done with putting you through the fire, I guess. But
Right. So there's one last thing that I want to ask you, and that's I'm going to name some behaviors,
okay.
and I or some not really reasons. Just they can be disorders, whatever, but which ones that you would identify with that would be a reason that you went into drugs, alcohol, relapse, whatever.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
And then you can just, you don't pick one, you just pick every one that relates to you.
Okay.
So,
okay. So just say, like, yes, when you list one, say, yes, that would cause me to relapse, or no.
yeah, just say yes or no.
Okay.
This is one of yours. So,
Okay.
it's okay. So depression,
yes.
lack of self-love,
Yes.
fear of abandonment,
Yes, for sure.
self-empowerment.
Self-empowerment. So, like, well, I'm gonna say yes, only because sometimes when I'm feeling really good about myself, I'm overconfident, and
Overconfident.
I let my guard down and I relapse. So I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. I had one more. Self-destruction.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So there's actually 10 that I had written down,
Okay.
but that I like to try to ask people.
Okay.
I just gave you 5 of them.
Okay.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
We really need to be honest, and that's what you were.
Yes.
Those are the things that I already saw. So
Mhm.
I would have known had you not said
Yeah.
yes to all of them.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel good when somebody knows those things, because it's important for you to know what can make you relapse.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so that you stay away from that, or if you start feeling that way, you call your sponsor. Or
Yeah.
I prefer that people call their sponsor, only because a lot of times your friends have a hard time telling you the truth.
Yeah, and that's what sponsors for. I mean, you don't want me to call you in the middle of the night and when and ask you your opinion on my life. No,
Now,
sponsors, that's
because
what they
I
are there for. That is what they're there for. Because they're objective. They will tell you, they will call you out on your BS, and
yeah,
they will tell you what you don't want to hear. And it's usually is you need to go back and do another fourth step and list your
yeah.
character defects, or go back and do a 10th step. They'll tell you what you don't want to hear, but that's what they're there for.
So unfortunately for my kids, um, because I grew up all my life since the time I was born around addiction and recovery, um, I am one of those persons that tell you how it is.
Yeah.
And my kids, I will always tell them the truth, whether it hurts or not, but I will also always lift them up. So my daughter, I don't know why, because she knows that I'm always going to tell her the truth, but she's so she was athletic, really athletic. So like 10 years of acrobats and 10 years of tap and ballet, 10 years of each of those. And then she was a cheerleader, she was a volleyball player, and she was a track runner. She did
Overachiever.
she was just very athletic.
Yeah.
Very athletic. But so her body, she had strong legs. So, and strong arms. And then she had this tiny waist. And she had a hard time finding jeans to fit her right, because her legs were bigger, because they were muscular.
Yeah.
There wasn't an inch of fat on her.
Yeah.
But it was, but you build muscle, especially when she was a runner.
Yeah.
With anyway, every time we went shopping for jeans, it was horrible. It was a horrible day, a horrible time each time, because she cried because she could not find jeans that fit. If they fit her legs, they were too big in the waist.
Yeah.
If they fit her waist, they were too tight in the legs. We did finally find a brand that fit her perfectly. And I'm going to put it out there for people, but it's expensive. And this was over 20 years ago. But it was Lucky brand.
Yeah. Lucky is a great brand,
but they are expensive.
Yeah.
And they were expensive 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You had to spend $50 on a pair of jeans. Now that Lucky brand, which she still has to use, is like $125.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's it. Anyway, every time she like puts something on, she'll ask me her opinion on how something looks. And she has good taste. I tell her when she looks good, but I still get, well, you just have to say that because you're my mom. Well, no, I don't.
Yeah.
And I've never done that. So I think it's important for parents and for friends and all of us to be honest as we can, because you want that trust.
Oh, so you're only as sick as your secrets. So
that's right.
What do you want to know?
And how I answer that to her is, first of all, I don't have to tell you because I'm your mom that you look good. Do you think I want my kids to look bad?
Right. Yeah.
Who wants their kids to look bad?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Well, nobody that I know anyway.
Right.
Want them to. That would be kind of sick-minded if you wanted your kids to look bad.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have to say that. In fact, I think it's my job to be honest, to teach them to be honest. So
yeah,
I am one of those persons that you can call as a friend if you need help. And I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it gently.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But that's not everybody. Not everybody has that. I grew up with the addiction everywhere.
Yeah.
And I grew up going to Al-Anon and knowing how not to enable. But, I didn't know that at first.
Right.
I had to go through a program myself to learn that. So that's the other thing. I don't even know if Al-Anon is even out there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Yeah, it is. I think I had mentioned there's a really good movie. If anybody wants to know about how AA was founded, or for a little bit of the story, there's a movie
Right.
called When Love Is Not Enough, and it's with Barry Pepper, and Winona Ryder plays Lois Wilson, who's Bill Wilson, the founder of AA, plays his wife. And it's basically, essentially, it's you realize at the end it's basically the story of how Al-Anon was founded, but it was Lois Wilson that realized that the families are needing to heal just as much as the people that have the alcohol or drug addiction. It's called When Love Is Not Enough. It's a fantastic movie. Barry Pepper and Winona Ryder.
So I'm going to look it up real fast to see where we can tell people to watch it at.
It's great.
And then we'll also put that in the description.
Okay. Yes, that would be great.
It's
a lot of people, it's not a well-known movie, and I don't know the reason. I actually watched it in rehab. They had us watch it. And
do you know what it's rated?
Say again.
Do you know what it's rated?
It probably, I mean, it might be R, but it may be I mean, there's no nudity in it, and there's really not even any swearing, I don't think. It might even be PG-7, whatever it's called, NC-17. Yeah, it's very clean, but there's just some rough moments of him being drunk. But other than that, there's
is that the Lois Wilson story?
Does it say When Love Is Not Enough?
It does, but is that the Lois Wilson
story? Yeah, Lois Wilson.
Okay, so there's also the book.
Oh, a book. Okay.
Okay, and so that's on Amazon. You can get in Kindle or hardcover. It's not cheap. Let me tell you. Well, seriously, it's $40 for the book.
Really?
That's expensive.
Okay. Does it show a movie on there or DVD?
I'm getting to there. So Google Play. Let me see here. It's in Hallmark.
Okay.
But you can buy it to watch it for $7.99.
Okay. It's well worth it. It's really good.
Oh, I don't want to sign into Google. I'm just trying to look at where else, because a lot of times movies like that.
You might even be able to just look it up on
YouTube.
Yep. And it'll say if you want to rent it. Yeah, I bet you. Yeah.
YouTube is one of them. And then there's a remake that was done April 30th, 2020.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that I have not seen.
You can stream that from SoundCloud.
Wow. A remake. Okay. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Fantastic story.
So, and it's on Netflix.
Oh, cool. Okay. So Netflix. Yes.
So there you go. So
thank you.
We'll make sure we put that in that. And
yes, ma'am.
If we could, so we went, I guess you recommend AA then. Totally.
Well, so AA or I recommend a 12-step program. The two main ones is for alcohol and drugs, you're going to find AA and NA. Now, I will tell you, I'm in NA currently.
NA, so that's narcotics.
Narcotics Anonymous, yes. And the main difference, so really, there's a lot of people that, regardless if it's drugs or alcohol, even if it's just drugs, there's a lot of people that are kind of AA purists, and they will stick with a traditional AA program. There's some nuances. I won't get into all of the details. I probably wouldn't explain them right, but there are different books because there are some people that prefer when it's alcohol to talk strictly about alcohol. They don't want to introduce the talk about other drugs when they're talking about alcohol. And there's some people don't care one way or the other.
But NA talks about both of them, right?
Yeah. So there's some people, so you will find that typically at an AA meeting, when you introduce yourself, they prefer that you introduce yourself as an alcoholic, not necessarily an addict. That's just, and it's not every meeting, but it's just there's certain AA has certain ways. For for whatever reason. But NA, and then I have know somebody that was an alcoholic that actually preferred NA, but it's the same. The steps are the
The
same. The
steps are the
12,
same, yeah.
the steps are the same. And in NA, alcohol is referred to just as any other drug. So we know they do not think differently about alcohol in NA.
Right.
It's considered the same. But yeah, a 12-step program, and there is also Celebrate Recovery. Celebrate Recovery is very similar to that, but it takes and actually I don't know if it's considered, if they do 8 steps, they might actually do it as 8, but they take,
Is there an actual program?
yes, it's called Celebrate Recovery. It's usually at a church, and a lot of times it's Thursday nights, but they're all different times.
Celebrate
Um,
Recovery?
Celebrate Recovery, a really good program. The way that it's a little bit different is you're going to find AA and NA will refer to a higher power, that you have to come to believe that a power, that a greater, a power higher than yourself can restore you to sanity, is one of the um one of the one of the steps. Some
So
people don't like
I'm gonna
calling God
read
a
it.
higher power. That's why Celebrate Recovery.
Right, so I'm going to read it to you. It says Celebrate Recovery is a Christ-centered 12-step recovery program for anyone struggling with hurt, pain, or addiction of any kind.
Right. And yeah, and that encompasses all kinds of different addictions or needing to recover from something.
Right.
But they what they do is they take the steps and they basically are using like different parts of the Bible, different Bible verses, kind of basing it on biblical principles. It's very, very similar, but it's going to be more Christ-centered than just calling it a higher power. Some people have a problem calling it just this random higher power. So it just depends on what spiritual position you're coming from.
Right. Actually, because I used Google for that,
Yeah.
it shows me 3 places close to me.
Oh, cool. You might need to go for your chocolate addiction.
Oh gosh, I get laughed at about that, and I'm like,
It's a
okay,
real
but it
thing, I
is a
promise.
real thing, especially like we have high cholesterol in the family,
Yeah.
and that is sugar, and
Yeah.
sugar can be a huge
I think it's in the
addiction.
DSM-5 or whatever they call it. What is it
Yeah.
called? Yeah, anyway.
But when it's addiction for me is when I'm using it to cover up something or help
Yeah.
the way I'm feeling,
Mhm.
because it's so I prefer to find a movie that makes me cry.
Well, then you need to go see Love When Love Is Not Enough.
Well, I'm gonna watch it tonight.
It's amazing. Yes. You are?
Yeah.
I'll watch The Call tonight then.
Okay.
Okay.
You do that. Because that's really good, really
Yeah.
good. And of course you'll like Halle Berry. But yeah, my sugar, they make fun of me when I say so my addiction is this. Addiction is addiction.
That's right.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but if I have to grab chocolate every time I'm upset, that is damaging to my body.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my like husband and my kids don't really get that. They like think it's funny to bring me home chocolate chip cookies and put them next to my bed. And I'm like, really, seriously, don't, because I will eat them. I just
Yeah.
will. And I don't
Well,
want
if you
to.
get a good organic chocolate that's not high in sugar, is actually really good for you. The polyphenols and things. And like I said, I can get into that another day. Maybe we can talk about keto. But chocolate actually is really good for you when it is a good organic chocolate without sugar and a bunch of
And dark
excess in there.
chocolate.
Yes, darker the
And I know
better.
that. And I know
Mhm.
that. And I got off of it for a very long time by doing dark chocolate because it
Yeah.
didn't taste good to me.
You crowded. Yeah. Yeah.
So no, that with it not tasting good to me, that's what I used anyway, because I wouldn't overdo it because I didn't
Right.
really like it, but
Yeah.
it still took away that feeling.
Yeah. Well, it'll
Um,
like, yeah, it'll,
yeah, a
the
little
actual
bit.
real, yeah, it'll light up that part of your brain. The actual the pure cacao part of it will light up that sensor in your brain.
Yeah,
It's kind of like the love hormone, almost like an
right,
oxytocin. But
right.
anyway, but we can talk about keto another day because keto
Yeah,
helps me stay sober.
yeah. And
So
I
anyway,
do want to do that. And okay, so why don't you tell everybody if they want to find you on any kind of social media?
okay. Yep. So I've been doing a lot on TikTok, which you can put a link, I guess, in there. It's Jen.inspiring sobriety is my TikTok handle, Jen.inspiring sobriety. I've been doing a lot on TikTok, but I do have a website. It's a blog and a website. So I have a daily recovery blog where I talk about different things, everything from what is a 12-step meeting for beginners to more in-depth things. Like I talk about drug dreams. I did an article about drug dreams and drinking dreams, why we have them, what they
What's the
mean.
website called?
Sorry, it's inspiringsobriety.com. Inspiringsobriety.com. There's so the blog, but there's also I design all of my own like recovery themed apparel, like
So is that on
wicked
there too?
sober hats, coffee mugs, gifts, sobriety jewelry. Like if you have somebody that has a 1-year sobriety coming up, like crosses, engraved, like all kinds of personalized stuff. So that's all on
That's
there as
on
well.
there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to have a section that's going to talk about more of the like getting help. Like it'll be a resource center for hotlines and Oxford House, all the different resources. That's in progress. But so there'll be 3 parts. It'll be the philanthropy or charitable part, the daily recovery blog, as well as then I got the merchandise. So some of it's funny, some of it's motivational, but inspiringsobriety.com.
Okay, got that. And then do you want anybody to reach out to you on Instagram or
Yes.
Facebook? Do you
Yes,
have any
absolutely.
more?
And my email, the email that's easiest to reach me to, if somebody wants to email, is inspiringsobriety@gmail.com.
Okay.
Now on the store contact page, there is like a direct, because I do personalization for people if they want a certain like shirt personalized, but they can message me directly from the contact page. It comes into my email, but inspiringsobriety@gmail.com is pretty easy.
Mhm.
And then I have same thing. Facebook is Inspiring Sobriety Facebook page, and then Instagram. Instagram, it actually is Inspiring Sobriety 13 because somebody had Inspiring Sobriety, so I added my lucky number 13 after it. So, but
So it's
I can send you
Inspiring Sobriety 13.
yeah, and I can send you the links for all these if you need to put them somewhere. But yeah, please reach out to me. My story's on there. You'll actually see there. My story is on TikTok. It's up to about 7,000 views now. I put it out about 2 days ago. It has pictures of me after I had my face reconstructed. So it's
I'll
very
have to go
short.
watch that tonight too.
Yeah, it's very short, but it was just an inspirational thing to say, this was me before, this is me today. It's like less than a minute long, but there is a picture of after they stitched my eye back into my head. It's meant to be a little bit shocking so that people will think about it and reach out to
How
others that need
serious
help.
this stuff
Yes,
is.
exactly.
All right. And then we talked a little bit about that we're thinking about going live once a week on TikTok.
Yes, like a TikTok
And
podcast with you.
so not a TikTok podcast.
I'm sorry, TikTok live, sorry.
So it'll be a live. And
I
I'm
like to talk
thinking
podcasts.
it could be, I know. I'm thinking that it could be like people could come on and we could talk, they can ask a question about addiction or where they can go for help and that kind of stuff.
Yes,
So
that would be great.
So we need to come up with that. So that's
That would
in
be
the
awesome.
making. So everybody knows.
Cool.
And
Excited.
yeah, so thank you so much for coming on and for sharing
Thank
your story.
you. You're
And
amazing.
for giving inspiration out there for so many people.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do because there's sobriety and recovery is just one of them. I mean, there's so many other things and you take so much time. Like I'm really just amazed at how much time you dedicate to even just us getting to this point and being able to do it. Like if people say, oh, we went through just to get to this point, you are a soldier.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have reason to be.
Yes.
God is great.
God is great. That's right. God is good all the time. All the time. God is good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you have a good evening and
Thank
I'll
you.
probably get this edited. I probably won't even start till tomorrow.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you
have
so
a good
much.
night. Watch that.
We do recover. Thank
All right.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.